All right, in today's podcast, we're going to have story time. It's story time with Senpai Rabbit today. So, this story is about, it's like literally the sole reason why I don't judge a book by its cover anymore, okay? And what I mean by that is in people. So, I know everyone judges people, and technically, the way the human mind works is through association. So if I say, think of the color red, some people might think of a fire truck. Some people might think of, red hair or a cherry or something. Everyone associates things differently. And the mind has to store things in memory based on association. So technically, it's impossible for you to not judge people. Because when you meet them and you interact with them, your brain puts them in a category because that's how it works. That's how your brain actually uses memory. So technically, everyone judges. But the point is, people, I tend to reserve my initial judgment for this just because of the story. This story is about the awkward kid at my old job. Okay, there was this kid that nobody really liked, and I try to be nice to everyone because you don't know, man. You don't know people, and you don't know what their situations are. So I try to go out of my way to be nice to people, just to spread some happiness and positivity in the world. Because hell, we all know there's way too much fucking negativity in the world. So I try to do my job to at least put some sense of positivity back into people, etc., etc. So this guy, nobody really liked him, so I went and talked to him a little bit here and there, and I kind of sort of became friends with him, like work buddies, where you kind of like, oh hey, what's up, bro? Like, oh yeah, oh okay, cool, nice talking to you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like surface level, but more than just like, oh hi, don't want to talk to you. I got to know him a little bit more and more, and every once in a while I'd talk to him, and after a while he started being like, hey, you want to hang out? And honestly, okay, straight up honestly, at the time he was asking me, I had a lot going on, so I never actually was able to plan something out to go hang out with him or whatever. So one night, it was like a random, I think it was a Wednesday night. Because, it was karaoke. So this is going to get good, guys. So one night, I'm talking to him, right? I had the night shift, and I think my shift ended at 10. So I was off early that night, 10 p.m. And one night he goes, hey, are you down to hang out tonight? And I was like, I don't really want to. But then in my head, I was like, I have the car tonight, because I was carpooling with a roommate at the time. I was like, I have a car tonight. I can drive home whenever I want. I'm technically free right now, and honestly, I'm probably never really ever going to end up planning something out with this kid. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. He asked me, I'm technically available, so you know what, let's just go for it, right? But he was kind of awkward-ish. When I talked to him, it was fine. When other people talked to him, they were like, oh, he's weird. He just says weird shit. And I'm like, yeah, I know he says kind of weird off things, but it's he's one of those kids that he says kind of weird shit, but if you don't make it weird, then it's kind of just fine. And then every once in a while, if they cross a line, you can kind of just put them in their place and be like, bro, that's not cool. But it's fine, but don't go that far. And they're like, oh, okay. So it wasn't a big deal. He was just a really nice kid that nobody really. He was just weird, dude. He was just weird. Anyways, and this is exactly why I don't judge a book by its cover anymore. Because he was weird, but okay, I agreed to go out with him this Wednesday night. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna need some alcohol. I I was like, I'm gonna need some alcohol. So I went and I bought a pack of Smirnoffs, and I drove out to this bar. It was kind of technically it was like on my way home, so it wasn't a big deal either. I wasn't going out of my way. It was pretty simple. So I driving to this bar. I actually cracked open one of the Smirnoffs before I even left work and chugged it. Drove 5 minutes to this bar, cracked another one open up in the parking lot, and was drinking it. I got halfway through the one in the parking lot when he showed up, and he was all stoked, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm bare minimum, I'm gonna make his night better, you know. And he's like, oh yeah, blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, no problem, I'll be right in. I'm gonna finish the Smirnoff, and I'll be right there. 10-15 minutes later, I'm done with my Smirnoff and chuck it in the bushes, whatever. I walk in, and I see him, and I go walk over, and okay, let me put it this way. I walk in, the place is a sausage fest. Okay, the only 2 girls that were in the place worked there. Okay, and they were hired guns, so they were attractive, and they worked there because they were attractive. And I was like, oh man, it's like this is gonna be a night. This is gonna be a fucking night, man. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So I walk over to him. I'm like, yo, what up? And he's like, oh yeah, what's going on? And I'm like, he's like, are you gonna sing a song? Because it was karaoke night, right, at this bar. Because Wednesdays apparently are not like good bar days, so they use karaoke to bring people in. And he's like, hey, you gonna sing some songs? And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to get a little more drunk before that happens, because I'm not musically inclined, all right? And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, I want you to come meet someone. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he walks me over to this table of like 3 dudes, and they're all like 50 or older. And I'm like, all right. And he straight up, dude, he goes, this is my dad. And I'm like, oh, hello, Mr. Dad. And I like shake this random dude's hand, right? And he introduces me to his friends. And I'm like, oh my God, this kid's dad has more friends than this kid. And he hangs out with his dad at bars. Like, dude, this is getting way too deep. At that point I was like, dude, I need a drink. Luckily I'm in a fucking bar, right? So I walk up, I get a Jaeger bomb, but as a drink, but not as a bomb. And I go sit down. I'm like, yo, what are you drinking, bruh? And he goes, oh, Dr. Pepper. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't drink. I'm like, dude, you fucking invited me out to karaoke to legitimately just sing karaoke and not even get drunk? Like, what? Turns out later, and this is why I don't judge books by the covers. Turns out later that his dad is like an alcoholic and like has problems, and apparently there's some kind of abuse in the family. I didn't know at the time, right? Because the dad was actually drinking at the bar, but I didn't know it at the time. But like I found out, and so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because you know he doesn't want to end up like that. So whatever. At the time, I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? You brought me to karaoke, and you're not even gonna drink with me, like. So I was like, dude, you know what? At this point, I was kind of like upset, and I just wanted to go home. And I had this moment. I was sitting there, kind of zoning out, and I had this moment in my head, and I was just like, you know what? I have the ability to just make it a good night. I don't know how. There's no girls to talk to here. It's just straight dudes. It's karaoke. I don't particularly like karaoke because I suck at it. He's not even drinking with me. I'm drinking with his dad, who has more friends than him. And I'm just like, I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off, but you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make this a good night. So the night goes on. I kind of mingled with some of the other guys there, kind of just like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, I ended up like sitting down at the bar next to some guy, and he ended up buying me a whiskey shot, and then kind of like conned me into getting him one too. Cause like he was like, oh, let's get shots, and I was like, oh, I don't really, you know. And he was like, oh, 2 shots of Jameson or whatever, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm drinking whiskey now. And then we did them together, and he was like, do you want more shots? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he just kind of like looked at me, and I was like, I was like, fuck. All right, okay, 2 shots, and then I order the next 2 shots, and then in my head I'm like, what? If you bought the first round of shots and I bought the second round of shots, and like we both paid for the same amount of shots, so what? Like what? The simple math. But anyways, at one point in the night, one of the dad's friends is like, "Hey, dude," to the guy I was hanging out with. He goes, "Do you know who that guy is?" And I didn't even want to be there, so I was just like not paying attention to what they were saying. And one of the guys is like, "Yeah, that's the guy from that one movie, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, all right, whatever. Because even if it is a celebrity, right? Like, we're at a sausage fest and there's nothing going on. It's like weird karaoke night. I'm not just going to like walk up to this guy and be like, "Oh, let me use you as entertainment to make my night better." Because on your nights off, when you're not entertaining other people, you're going to have to entertain me. I was like, fuck that. It's like, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't want to be that asshole. I don't want to fucking... So I just didn't pay attention. I didn't even recognize the guy, to be honest. But he had 2 friends, right? And they were all singing karaoke, one at a time. And I ended up meeting one of the guy's friends later. And apparently he was like some like, they called him the man of 1,000 voices or some shit, whatever. He does like cruise ships. Like he goes on a cruise and like does a stand-up comedy show by using impersonation. I don't fucking know. He tried to impress me. I was just like, yeah, dude, you picked the wrong person to talk to, really. So the night goes on. Honestly, nothing even fucking happens. They end up playing that stupid song like it's closing time. Get the fuck out of the bar. Whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I go to the bathroom one last time because you always fucking go to the bathroom before you leave a place. I don't care what you're doing, where you're going. You go to the fucking bathroom, all right? Don't get in my car and on the freeway just be like, "Dude, can you like, I need to go to the bathroom." No, fuck you. All right, go to the bathroom before you leave. So anyways, I walk out the front door and one of the other friend of the famous celebrity, I walk out the front door and he's sitting there on the curb on his phone. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, is everything fine?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to get an Uber. It's cool." And I'm like, all right. And as I do that, I look over and the celebrity guy, right? I still don't even fucking recognize. I don't know who the fuck he is. He looks at me. He was talking to somebody in the parking lot. He looks right at me and he comes over and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're looking for an Uber to the Santa Clara Valley or something." I don't fucking know. And I'm like, at the time I lived in Moore Park, and I'm like, where the fuck are you trying to get an Uber? And he's like, "Oh, it's off this street, off that street." I'm like, "Oh, I know that street. That's literally on my way home. Do you guys want to ride?" And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So at the time I was kind of driving a pile of crap, and pieces of the car were like falling off of it, right? And so I knew I was driving a pile of crap, and I wasn't really giving other people rides all that often. So there was kind of like trash in the front seat, and we're walking over the car, and just as I get in, I'm like, "Oh fuck," right? This is like some celebrity guy, and he's gonna see the fucking Cheetos smashed into the floor of the passenger seat. And I'm just like, oh god, I'm so embarrassed. Not only that, but I was like, "Hey, like, I need to open the door for you because my other friend Tara, she kind of ripped the door handle off the outside of the passenger door." So I get in, I open the door, and he looks in the car and he goes, "Hey, it looks like my car." And I'm just like, oh my fucking god. Like, well, thank God for that, right? So I drive him home. We're driving on the freeway. He's kind of giving me directions. I'm talking to him. Talking to him about his family, whatever. Don't try to bring up any celebrity shit. Just not going to go there, right? I drop him off at some random fucking mansion driveway in the middle of fucking buttfuck Egypt. And then I go home. And from the few snippets of the night I remember, I looked this guy up. It's fucking Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, dude. Patrick Warburton or whatever his fucking name is. It's fucking Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. I drove Kronk home And he was drunk. I drove drunk crunk home from karaoke night. Are you fucking kidding me? It was amazing. I was like, oh my God. If I had known. And yeah, like his voice sounded familiar, but I didn't know what the guy fucking looked like. He's fucking drunk singing AC/DC songs in a fucking Sausage Fest pub. Of course, the only girl, there was 2 girls, right? One of them was talking to him. One of them dedicated singing a song to him. Obviously, everyone else in the whole fucking joint knew who he was except me. So, anyways, the story continues, right? Because that was a great night. And the next day, I went back to work, and I'm bragging to everyone. I'm like, oh, yeah, I met Patrick Warburton. Not only did I meet him, but I drove him home. He was drunk, and I drove him home from karaoke because he couldn't get an Uber. Yeah. So I'm just talking that shit up. And at the time, I was trying to get my other friend out. He was another coworker. I was trying to get his ass to go out to the bars because I was trying to teach him shit. You know, I was like, dude, you need to learn how to DHV. You need to learn how to open. You need to learn how to do this and that. When you walk in the club, you got a 3-second rule, bro. You walk in a venue, you've got 3 seconds to open up any set. I don't even care if there's a girl in it. You need to open up a set and just start talking. 1, it gets you over your approach anxiety. 2, when you walk in and you just start talking to random people, you look like you have friends. You look like you're just that friendly guy that just knows everyone. You don't know how. And you know what? To be completely honest, if you do that, you will actually make a bunch of fucking friends. And I've had this happen to me, okay? I've gone to bars or clubs or places, and random fucking people will come out of nowhere and be like, hey, dude. And I'm like, hi. Who are you? And they're like, oh, dude, one time at this place. And I'm like, yeah, I had a lot to drink that night, man. Do you have anything else I can go on? They're just like, oh, yeah, like I did this thing and you laughed. And I'm like, oh, shit, you're that guy. And he's like, yeah. Right? So you walk into a venue and if you apply the 3-second rule so that you just start talking to people, you'll meet people. Okay? I know that when you're first starting off and you don't have your own DHV stories, you have to do the kind of like fake it till you make it, and you kind of like borrow some other people's DHV stories, but it come off a little weird because they're not your genuine stories, so you kind of have to like tell them as if they were. Anyways, the whole point is if you want your own DHV to talk about, when you go out, just do weird shit. Just start talking to random people. Okay? And you'll meet some random people. And then the next day you can be like, oh yeah, I went to a bar and I went to a bar one time and I met this guy and we were talking about Twitch, and he was a Twitch streamer. And as soon as I looked at the bartender had blue hair and a fucking headband on, and I swear to God he looked like Ninja. And I turned to this Twitch guy and I smack him on the shoulder. I'm like, bro, does this fucking bartender look like Ninja? And he's like, he fucking does. So he pulls out his phone and snaps a blurry selfie. And he made sure it was blurry so he could be like, oh, I met Ninja, like as a joke, right? Anyways, that's the point. You use the 3-second rule. You get into a venue. You just start talking to random people. You build your own DHV stories that you can use the next time you go out. Not only that, but it cuts your approach anxiety to 0 because you're already talking to people. You're just already in go mode. You don't have to think about it because the more you think about it, the more it cripples you. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. So I'm trying to get my buddy out, right? And I'm trying to teach him all this shit. So I'm like, dude, let's go out. Because I was having like parking lot sessions with him. I'd be at work and then he would be like, hey, he would get off, and then I would get off at the same time around 10 p.m. or whatever, and I'm like, oh, hey, let's go hang out in the car real quick. Let's talk about some stuff. I'll tell you about some stories, and I'll give you some DHV you can use, etc. Finally, I get this slow ass to bring his ass out to a bar, right? And this was a Saturday night. He finally agrees to go out to a fucking bar. We get there, we go in, we start talking to random people. I actually, before we really even did anything, because I kind of blew the 3-second rule out because we got into the venue, and because I was with him, I didn't need to look like I was talking to other people. So we went to a table, and I sat him down, and I looked at him, and I was like, okay, so like, let's do this and that. I want you to work on this, and these are going to be your goals for the night, right? So he's like, okay, cool. We split up, and we agreed to go around opposite circles of the bar and meet up on the other side. And so we do that. And as we're going around, I'm meeting people, he's meeting people. And then when we get to the other side of the bar, we meet up, and we can sit down again and be like, okay, so what happened to you? And he'll be like, oh, I did this and that. And I'll be like, okay, that's cool. Try this next time. When I was going around this side, I had this happen. I walked up to the bar. Some girl was ordering a drink, she bumped into me. So I was like, whoa, hands off. And then the bartender delivers my raspberry lemon drop in a martini glass with a sugared rim, right? And she's like, oh, what the fuck is that? And of course, girls love pink shit, right? So not only that, but raspberry lemon drops are fucking delicious. I don't care if they look girly as fuck. They're delicious, okay? And in fact, they're a talking point. You have a raspberry lemon drop in a martini glass with a sugared rim that you're walking around a bar with. Not only are girls going to want to drink out of that, because they're like, holy shit, that looks delicious. I can be like, yeah, it is fucking delicious. And it's peacocking. Because everyone else has fucking nasty looking beers. God, I fucking hate beer. Okay? I'm not a beer person. And I always I always prove to girls like, hey, you want a sip of this? I didn't drug it. Look, I'll take a sip first. Right? And I've even had girls like use a straw, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. I get it. Germs, whatever. I've even used this line, okay? The bartender dropped off a Moscow Mule right in front of me, and this girl leans over. She's like, what's that? And I was like, here, try it. I haven't even had time to roofie it yet. I was a little intoxicated already. And it was a risky thing to say. Like, you don't generally want to bring that up. But my energy was so high. I was having fun talking to my buddies. And she clearly watched the bartender drop it off to me. So, true to my word, I actually didn't have time to roofie it if I was going to. Which I would never do that because it's terrible. But, obviously she saw that there was nothing. She tried it. All right, she tried my drink and was like, that's amazing. I'll have one of those. And orders another one straight from the bartender. Anyways, God, I'm getting off topic. Okay, so I finally get his ass out to a bar, right? We're walking around. We're talking. I'm getting him to practice shit. And then I don't remember what we were doing. We met up randomly outside on the patio. And he goes, hey, I need to ask you something. And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And he pulls me aside and we sit down at a table. He's like, okay, so I was doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he turns and looks over and he's like, oh, hey. And some guy walks up out of nowhere and is like, oh, what's up, man? And they hug it out. And apparently this guy used to work at the place that we were working at the time. And so he introduces me and I'm like, oh, yo, what's up? Now I'm his coworker. And then he introduces us to all of his friends. And his girlfriend and his girlfriend's friends, whatever. I'm kind of meeting random people. It got kind of weird. Some dude was trying to DHV in front of this really cute chick, but was failing miserably. He was DLVing all over the place. And then she was acting fucking weird. She didn't seem like she was on drugs. She seemed like she had a screw loose. Something was just kind of off. Anyways, the point is, Lexi was the girlfriend of the guy that my buddy knew. And Lexi went into the bar. She was talking with a couple of her girlfriends and was like, hey, let's go get drinks. And she walks into the bar. And so they take off. And my buddy, he pulls me aside. He's like, dude, hey, you know Lexi? And I'm like, yeah, what about her? And he goes, that girl is the daughter of the guy who does the voice for Joe Swanson from Family Guy. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you mean Patrick Warburton? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, literally a week or two ago, I went out and I fucking met him at a bar and I drove him home from karaoke. And he's like, oh shit, you're right. I remember you telling me that story because I was bragging about it at work, right? And he's like, holy shit. And I'm like, small fucking world, right? So I'm like, dude, we have to go talk to Lexi right now. So we walk in and I find her at the bar. I walk up. I'm like, yo, Lexi. She's like, what's up? I'm like, I know your dad. And she's like, oh yeah, how? Because obviously he's a celebrity. He knows a lot of people. So I go, I drove him home drunk from karaoke one night. And she turns and looks at me dead in the eye. She goes, oh my God, that was you? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's fucking great. She looks at me and she goes, you have to come to our Halloween party. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. She's like, there's going to be a taco truck and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, let's exchange details. Like, what the fuck? And she gives me her number. And I go outside. And of course, you know, I just got her number. And she is the girlfriend of the other coworker guy. And she's also a celebrity's daughter. So I'm not gonna start fucking shit up, okay? And the way I do that, the way I prevent some weird misunderstandings from happening is as soon as we get out to the patio, I walk right the fuck up to her boyfriend and I'm like, yo, I just talked to your girlfriend. I drove her dad home drunk from karaoke and she invited us to the fucking Halloween party. And he's like, oh yeah, dude, you should totally come. There's going to be a taco truck and everything. And I was like, what the fuck's going on with this taco truck? Sounds bomb, right? So I'm like, fuck yeah. And so I'm talking to them. The night ends pretty well, on a high for sure. My buddy ends up driving me home and we're recapping in the pickup truck on the way home. He had a fucking blast. I was having a blast. I was having a lot of fun because I made him have a great night. And honestly, guys, just get the fuck out there. I don't care if you're introvert. I get it. I fucking get it. I used to be the same way. I know everyone fucking says that shit. I did. I used to be the same way. I talk to guys who are introverts now. I talk to people who have problems going out and talking to women, to just people in general, to just getting out of the fucking house. And yes, it's Corona. I get it. But whatever. The point is, when you get the chance, just do it. Just go out. You will have so much fun. It always takes me so much effort and time to drag people out to bars and clubs. But once we get out there and I get into my fucking groove, everyone has such a good time. And literally, when the night ends, they're like, oh my God, we should do this again. I'm like, yeah, you should come out with me more often, bruh. Just fucking, all you have to do is come with me. Just come out with me, dude. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be great. You're going to be able to talk to a bunch of chicks that you were never able to before, you know? Like, let's go. So, I took my girlfriend at the time to the Halloween party. Because I got home that night and I was like, babe, you remember how I met that fucking celebrity? Well, I just met that celebrity's daughter and she fucking invited me to their Halloween party. Are you down to go to a celebrity Halloween party? And she's like, fuck yes. Is that a question? I'm like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be great. So I ended up dressing up as the Joker. She ended up dressing up as Misty from Pokemon. We get to the house and I'm like, you see this fucking driveway? You see this long ass? This is the driveway I dropped his ass off at. Karaoke night. We walk down the long ass driveway. We get to the house. I see Lexi. She's in a rainbow wig and she's wearing a skin tight red dress that says Skittles down the side of it. And I'm just like, I get it. Lol, taste of rainbow. Patrick Warburton walks up to us. He's in a mermaid skirt without a shirt on, and he's got a trident and a big ass fucking white beard attached to his face, and a crown, and he's walking around as Poseidon, dude. It's fucking hilarious. His wife was dressed up like a mermaid. Dude, it was good times. It was a chill party. We saw some Nightmare Fuel. Okay, someone was dressed up as like Thomas the Train Engine, but he wore a blue bodysuit and a paper plate face mask they drew a horrible representation of Thomas's face on. It was like terrifying. So we ended up getting a selfie with him. And then ironically, because my girlfriend at the time was dressed up as Misty, we walked by some dudes and they opened her up and they were like, "Oh, Misty, blah, blah." And they were like, "What's your favorite Pokemon?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I haven't really played Pokemon." They were like, "Oh, come on." And I'm like, "Blue version." And they're like, "What? What?" And we get into this fucking Pokemon debate, whatever. Apparently, there was an 80s band. The lead singer of Rat, which is apparently like a famous 80s band, was there. It was chill. It was a good night. We got drunk. It was kind of weird. It was fun. It was different. But that's what I'm talking about, okay? It all comes back to that first guy that asked me to hang out with him, that nobody wanted to hang out with, nobody really wanted to talk with. I took the time out of my day to be like, you know what? I can be nice to this guy. I can be nice to him. We'll hang out. And you know, we get to the bar and I'm just like, this fucking sucks. I could have gone home. I could have been like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go home. Nah. I sat there and I was like, I have a chance. I have an opportunity right now to make the best of the night, even though the odds are stacked against me. I just so happened to meet a celebrity, drive his ass home, all right? And because of that, the next time I go out and I meet his daughter, I can connect with her. How often can you be in a club, find out that there's some girl is a daughter of like some famous person? What the fuck are you going to say to her? You have nothing in common with her. You're not going to be like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you." She gets celebrity shit all the time, but she doesn't get, "I drove your dad home drunk from karaoke." Not only that, but apparently when she looked at me and was like, "Oh, that was you?" Obviously Patrick went home, and the next day he was like, "Yeah, we couldn't get an Uber, so some random guy I met at the bar drove us home, and it was cool." You know, so she's heard of me. Going out with that lame guy the first night, I built DHV with a hot chick who is the daughter of a celebrity, and I never had even met her. The fact that her dad talked about me gave me the opportunity to DHV indirectly. I was DHVing to people I had never met through her dad, who has a fuckload of DHV. Okay? That's what I call indirect DHV. When you can demonstrate higher value to people you don't even know through your actions and through the praises of what other people talk about when they talk about you, you can do a lot. You can set up a lot of groundwork without actually doing the work. So the moral of the story is to not judge a book by its cover. And that's honestly, I do not ever judge anyone anymore. And that's why, because yeah, they might be weird and they might say weird shit. They might dress weird, or they might look weird, or they might act weird, or they might be annoying or lame. I don't fucking care. I'll go hang out with them, because you never know what the fuck's gonna happen. You have no fucking clue what's gonna happen. So be nice to people. Be kind to people. When you have an opportunity to show some happiness, joy, and kindness to other people and bring that into their life, fucking do it. Just do it. I guarantee you, you're going to rack up some good karma. You're going to make yourself happy for being kind to other people. They're going to appreciate it. Dude, I made that guy's night going out to the bar with him. His dad had more friends than he did. And his dad's friends went out with his dad to bars more often than friends went with him to bars, okay? So he got to bring me out to a bar. It was like the highlight of his fucking night. Now, he's weird and awkward. He didn't end up talking to a celebrity and getting invited to a Halloween party. So I did have to do some work myself. But if I had never agreed, if I was like, dude, I'm not going to hang out with this fucking weird kid, none of that shit would ever happen. None of that shit would have ever happened. So I've had plenty of experiences where people come out of fucking left field and shit happens that you would never in a million years be able to predict. I've had people tell me about crazy shit. I've been involved in crazy shit because I just happened to talk to just some random person, all right, don't judge, be kind. That's the moral. I hope you guys get out there. I hope you guys have fun. I hope you guys meet some weird fucking cool people and be safe. All right, Senpai Rabbit out.